Hi, Angelo here from Future Summits Online, the future of the future. My next guest is Glenn van Zutphen. He is an incredible guy. Please read his bio in the description. You'll be blown away. And he's going to be talking to us about communication in the 21st century. From AI writers to holoportation to deep fakes, he says, be informed, be inspired, and be afraid. So with that cliffhanger, I'll leave you to enjoy the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn van Zutphen.
And those of your viewers that have been to Tokyo know that right in the center in Shibuya, right by Shibuya Station, is the Shibuya Crossing. And again, for those of you who haven't been there, perhaps you can just do a quick Google on it, or I'll share a picture of it. But it's a massive 5-6-way intersection where up to 2,500 people, 2,500 people can cross at any given change of the lights, right? It's massive. And it is so crowded during rush hour, you can't believe it. And all surrounding that amazing intersection in Shibuya, it's also sometimes called Hachiko Crossing, for those of your viewers that would be familiar with that. But surrounding that are buildings, right, of course. And all the buildings are just filled with neon signs, advertising everything from restaurants to department stores to food products to drinks to whatever. And as you stand there, typically about a handful of signs will jump out at you as a pedestrian there. And I show this to my coaching clients, usually the first thing, and I say, what jumps out at you? And almost always the most bold, the most clear, the most concise signs, neon signs, signboards jump out at them. And there's 3 or 4 of them that generally are mentioned over and over again. And the point to this story is, in our communication world, we face a similar challenge. We are absolutely inundated with visuals, with verbal, with all different kinds of messages coming at us. And in fact, most of us are somewhat guilty of sending out a lot of messages as well.
What is your take on the next level of how we're going to communicate with each other and still be effective in our communication?
So thanks, Angelo. And this gets us really into the heart of what you wanted to talk about. So thanks for giving me a moment there to kind of digress just a little bit at the beginning of this talk. First thing, there are 3 things I'd like to talk with you about today about technology that is already here, but going forward, I believe it's going to be absolutely pivotal in our communication landscape. The first is AI writers. Now, for those of your audience that aren't familiar, AI writers, it's basically a computer algorithm that is able to take and assimilate information and basically write something. So it could be a journalistic story, it could be a newsletter, could be a lot of different things that you have. And AI writers have been around for quite a number of years. And nearly, if you're a Bloomberg subscriber or a Reuters Business News subscriber, hundreds of stories each day on all of these traditional journalism platforms are written by AI writers, by algorithms, right? So when you're reading a story, chances are, unless there is a byline by a person, but chances are it's been written by a machine already. And this has been going on for years, right? But to give you an idea, they can churn out a perfect 1,000-word story, fully sourced and everything else, in about 60 seconds.
What?
Let me just repeat that.
Incredible.
They can churn out a 1,000-word story in 60 seconds. And again, one of these stories that you would never know that it was a machine that wrote it. In fact, when I was interviewing this woman, Caitlin Chen is her name, from Tencent, we sat up on the stage. It was at a journalism conference, and the AI writer was doing a simultaneous translation of her Mandarin into English on a big screen on the side. And then by the time we finished our discussion, I asked her a lot of questions about what was going on. The AI writer software had taken all of the information that we had discussed and synthesized it into a fully written story summarizing what we had talked about. Done, right? Within 15 minutes.
I'm kind of speechless at the moment. I know if there were young people watching this, they'll be like, how do I get one of those for my homework and my assignments?
2 other things that I think are coming up that are important. Holoportation and HoloLens technology. So these are, if you think of almost like Star Trek, where you can physically be in one place and you can see a full formed vision of somebody in your space with you who is thousands of miles away or even across town, doesn't really matter. This is the direction that this holoportation and also hologram technology is going. Now, these are two separate things that I'm talking about. It just so happens that the most advanced brand right now that's working on these is Microsoft. They're working on both of them. So for holoportation, think of 3 or 4 3D cameras in a room around you and 3 or 4 3D cameras in a room around somebody else in another location. And you have a HoloLens headset on and you can see each other. And basically that person is completely real in this augmented kind of reality that you're in with them. You can see them, you can high five them, you can sit down and really have a discussion with them. And it is a very sort of tactile experience for talking with people. That's called holoportation. Now, the hologram technology is a little bit different. Again, you use a device called a HoloLens, HoloLens 2. They're a little over $3,000 now, not including the software. But this is something that people can use, for example, if you're an architect or if you're a doctor or somebody, and you can put on this, and there can be a doctor in another location or an architect or somewhere saying, okay, now the next step to this project is you need to do this. And in real time, they show you on your patient, on your architectural drawing, on your machine that's being repaired, whatever it is, they show you exactly what to do and where to do it. A real challenge. And we're going to see, I think, more of them start to surface as we get closer to, the elections in the US, for example. We'll see how many people are messing around with those. We know that there's going to be outside influence, whether it's within the US or whether it's from outside countries. And we'll see what happens with deep fakes there. But they are here to stay.